So now we are going to focus on understanding ISTEP parameter of the variable customer. Very, very important. This makes it full complex in the bigs. Mark simple. Okay? Yeah, now look at this. Yeah, you execute this. So does it go with the debugging screen now? Now my question to you is, I have taken a BIGS query in RSRT and I am running this query in the debugging screen. You have got this debugging screen first or variable screen first? You run the RSRT query run chestunna. Debugging kochi ikkada chudu yellow arrow mark undi control ikkada it has got the control till here. It means my question is it has come into this code to execute it before variable screen is popped up to the user or after? Before. అర్థమైందంటే నాకు స్క్రీన్ రాకముందే కోడ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది, అది పాయింట్. ఓకే, సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద లాజిక్? నౌ ఇట్ హస్ కమ్ ఇన్ టు దిస్ కోడ్ టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ దిస్ బిఫోర్ వేరియబుల్ స్క్రీన్ ఇస్ పాప్డ్ అప్ టు ది యూజర్. సో దట్ టైమ్, డ్యూరింగ్ దిస్ టైమ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు సీ వాట్ ఈస్ మై స్టెప్ వాల్యూ. వాట్ ఈస్ మై స్టెప్ వాల్యూ? 1. Now I'm opening up another point saying whenever we have a BIGS query with customer exit variable in it, I told it triggers this function model. We already know this point. Now I'm saying whenever you have a BIGS query with customer exit variable, it actually triggers this function model 3 times, not once. Okay, whenever I have a BIGS query with customer exit in it and then executed, it does trigger the function model in the backend 3 times, not once. Okay, so how do I know whether it is called for the first time or second time, third time? Based on this ISTEP. ISTEP 1 indicates it is called for the first time, ISTEP 2 indicates it is called for second time, ISTEP 3 indicates it is called for third time. That's the concept. And so when it is called for first time, when is it called for second time, and when is it called for third time? That's the point. Okay, boss? Look at this. When you execute the query, before the selection screen is popped up to the user, it does come into this exit. So then the ISTEP will be what? 1. No, ante no query run chesinappudu selection screen raakamunde ee code execute cheyadaniki veltundi. Appudu aa code execute cheyadaniki vellinappudu ISTEP em untundante 1 ఉంటుంది. Okay, boss? Now once the selection screen is popped up, if you have any mandatory variables which are not shown to the user, then it goes to fill them with ISTEP 2. Second time again it goes after selection screen is popped up. Then again after, when I click on the execute button in the selection screen, again it comes into this with ISTEP 3. Should know. It has come in first time, right? ISTEP 1. So will it execute this logic? Let me press F8. Let me finish this code. So when exclamation screen వచ్చింది. Now actually I don't have any mandatory variable, so it doesn't go with step 2, but I can show you with step C. Now again what? Again click execute. Again it has come with debugging. మళ్ళీ వచ్చిందా? మళ్ళీ ఎక్కడికి వచ్చిందా బస్? ఇప్పుడు ISTEP ఏముందన్న? 2 ఇప్పుడు చూపించలేదు, చూపిస్తాను నెక్స్ట్. 3 వచ్చిందా? అట్లా అంటే సో my customer exit code is not called for once, it is called for multiple times. Once is before the selection screen is popped up to the user. The second time is to populate mandatory variables which are not shown in the selection screen, and third time is after I click on execute button. Okay, Nana? Okay, so knowing this fact, now they ask you what is ISTEP parameter. ISTEP will have 1, 2 and 3. So when I say ISTEP 1, the logic gets executed before the selection screen is popped up. Okay, so ante selection ante variable screen raakamunde logic execute ayi fill avuthundi. Ante can I say I use ISTEP 1 when I want to provide some dynamic default values to the variables. Variable should be filled with default some value, which is a dynamic value. So when you want to fill a variable with some dynamic default values, you can go with ISTEP 1 customer exit. So ISTEP 2 was after the selection screen is popped up to populate mandatory variables, it does execute the logic, that is ISTEP 2. The question is, what could be the scenario you use ISTEP 2 was? You getting what I am saying? Let's say I have BEX query. I have got two restricted key figures. One restricted keyword is for showing sales amount for current date. One restricted keyword is showing sales amount for current month. Another restricted keyword is showing sales amount for current week. So which month, which week depends on the date variable. So now what I'll do, I'll create, if it's a user entry, I'll create one variable on date, one variable on month, one variable on week. And when the user runs in, you get three variables. He should enter date, he should enter month, he should enter week. Right? More enter. I won't accept this 100. He says, why should I enter all this? Is three bus. I'll enter the date. Based on the date, you can find out month, and based on date, you can find out week, and give me those three columns. Then restrict one column with the date, restrict one column with the month derived from the date, restrict one column based on the week derived from the date. So in this case, what are the logic I am going to write for variable on week, month and week? Should this logic get executed based on the value of day variable? Yes or no? After my user feeds the value for cal day variable, I am executing the logic for what? Month and week variable. That is called ISTEP 2. Okay? Okay, user entry variable V1, V2 undi. V1 variable is user entry and V2 is customer exit. And user would feed the value for V1. Based on the value of V1, I must determine the value for V2. In the concept. So that is where I would go with ISTEP 2. Okay. So then again, when you click on execute button, it does trigger my enhancement code again with ISTEP 3. So it means after processing, when I say ISTEP 3, it's like after processing all the variables only process ayipinaka. So can I use this ISTEP 3 for validation checks? A variable like em value ichina correct ichinam leda validation check chesukochu. So then, since my ISTEP 3 is triggered after I click on execute button of the selection screen, why don't I use ISTEP 3 for all the validation checks, whether the value for these variables are correctly populated or not? Yeah. So like this, I can configure my code in the customer exit by setting the precedence of execution based on ISTEP parameters. Shall we do this? Yeah. A scenario on this? Yeah. So I wanted to have sales amount for current date. So current date and date what user gives in. Then month derived from the date and week derived from the date. Yeah. So can I build new selections? Yeah. New selection, restrict or anything, because if I do restriction in the filter, it affects all the columns. I want to have three individual columns separately. Say new selection. I'll say what? Sales amount. Restrict with what? What? Cal day, where user has to give in this value, because date I cannot determine, so user has to give in. So this variable would be what? I would say user entry. Select. అట్లే ఉంది, నాకు అర్థమవుతుంది మీరు మందన అన్నీ ఒకే రకం. I'll say ZDU date అంటే user entry variable of which is going to be the date. So what is the processing type I should have? Manual entry, because user has to give in. Details, how many values he is going to give in? Single value, I'm fine. Optional, okay, if interested or not, I don't, but for now it's okay. And should this be visible to the user? Yes. Remember, ZU date. So this column would show me sales amount for I'll say U date, amount for the U particular date what user gives in. I want one more new selection. Yeah. Then I want what? Calendar year month. See, that is not just month, that is year and month. Okay. Under Jan 2014. If you just say Jan, it is different. Jan 2014 is different. Yeah. Now consider it now. I want a variable here. I won't restrict this column for a month. Okay. But this month does user given? No, I must populate this month based on the value of the variable z due date. Yeah. So it's customer exit first. So create new month ZC. Look at the variable ZC month. What should be processing time? Customer exit. Go to details. Will it be single value is fine? Yes. And whenever you want a variable to be filled with ISTEP 2, it has to be mandatory first, because once the selection screen is popped up, it gets into that execution for filling mandatory variables. So I should set it as what? Mandatory, and it should not be shown to the user also. User could convert, because if it's shown to user, it will not go with step 2. Okay, it is these two properties are mandatory. It has to be mandatory, and ready for input should be deselected first. Then I want one more variable, one more new selection. Next time I'm going to week. I also have calendar year week. Processing type, customer exit, single value. I should set it as what? Mandatory. Whenever you want to fill the variables with ISTEP 2, you must set it as mandatory, and variable input should be deselected. Yeah. Done. Should I start implementing the logic now? Yeah. So should I write logic for two variables? One is for month and one is for date. So when ZC underscore month. Okay, I won't write my logic for this. Now what are the logic I write here? Will this code be triggered 3 times? 1, 2 and 3 for ISTEP? Yeah. But when do you want this logic to get executed? Second time. So can I write the logic into it with an if condition saying if ISTEP equal to 2, only then execute my logic, otherwise no? Yeah. So I'll implement all my logic into this if conditions. Okay. Let's write comment English first. Angel, what is it you should do? Don't worry about above. Tell me what should you do. What should be logic of this? ISTEP 2 అయినప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి చెప్పు first. Still break it more basic. Yeah. I want logic, but don't straight away say derive month. Just go step by step. What do make it more basic statements. Yeah. First, can I say read the date value entered by user from variable what? From variable ZU underscore date. That's the first step. So first I need to calculate, I need to derive what value is entered into this ZU date. Okay. Then based on the date, calculate month and month year month or some month year. Okay. అంతే బస్ వాడు ఇచ్చిన డేట్ తెచ్చుకుని డేట్ బట్టి మంత్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేసి దెన్ వాట్ షుడ్ డూ దెన్ అవుట్పుట్ ది మంత్ అండ్ ఇయర్ టు what is the month you derive, you output that to E underscore T underscore range, because whatever you assign it to E underscore T underscore range, that will be getting onto my variables. Antena? Simple. English అర్థమైంది కదా అబ్బాయి పిడిచిపెట్టు నేను అబ్బాయి నేను చూసుకుంటా ఇంగ్లీష్ మీకు అర్థమైందా పాయింట్ యా First I am going to show how do I read the value of an existing user input values. In the import, you use IVNAM, ISTEP, right? Now there is one more, this is input, this is like internal table. This is an input parameter, but it's a table, I underscore, T underscore, var underscore range. ఈ టేబుల్ ఏముంటుందంటే యూజర్ ఎంటర్ వేరియబుల్స్ దాని వాల్యూస్ అన్ని టేబుల్లో ఉంటాయి ఆటోమేటిక్గా. వెన్ ది ఫంక్షన్ మోడల్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్, all the user enter variables and their values will be filled into this table and sent to you automatically. You don't have to worry anything. So all the user enter variables and their corresponding value would be into this table, I underscore, T underscore, var underscore, range. If I need to use this, I want to declare this, because that's a table. This is the ultimate fields in it. What is the variable name in it? VName. What is the low value in it? Low. So to basically read from it, I must use work area first. Okay. Because whenever you read data from internal table, I must fill that into work area, right? So I will say this structure, type some. I'm just creating one structure of that type so that while reading data from internal table, I can loop into work areas, or I can read from into work area. Now I will say, you know the table name, I underscore, T underscore, var underscore range, and from there I must put it to work area. You know the work area name, internal underscore range, and you have got to put the condition on variable name, because that table might have lot of entries. I'm interested only in the entry of what? ZU date only. So I will say read read table. Which one? Which table you want to read? I underscore, T underscore, var underscore range. Whatever I read, I must put into work area. What is my work area name? Inter underscore range. Okay. And what is the where clause? With key. Because while reading, you will use where clause with what? Saying with key. In the structure, what was my variable name? In this structure, what was my variable name? With vname. So my work area and my internal table will have the field variable name represented with vname. With key vname is equal to which variable? అంటే ఆ టేబుల్లో చాలా వేరియబుల్స్ ఉండొచ్చు. యూజర్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ఒక 20 వేరియబుల్స్ ఉండొచ్చు. నీకు ఏ దాని మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్? ZU date. ఒక్కో వేరియబుల్కి ఒక్కో రో ఉంటుంది. ఐఎమ్ ఓన్లీ కలెక్టింగ్ దట్ రో ఆఫ్ మై వేరియబుల్ ZU date ఫ్రమ్ దట్ టేబుల్. ZU అండర్స్కోర్ So from this table, give me record of my variable z due date. So the complete record will come into what? Into my work area. Work area will have variable name, low, high, everything would be there in the table. Of what? Of my variable z due date, what user is given in. Can I say whether my read is successful or not? Can I use size sub bar c equal to 0? It is just an if condition to check whether my read statement whether it is able to successfully read my entry for z due date or not. If it is read now, inter underscore range is a work area. So it's a structure. A structure lo mottam variable name, the low value and kuchunna. I am interested in only low of my variable because it's a single value variable. I want to know low of it. If I can say inter underscore range hyphen low, that gives me the value of my z due date. Yes. Now from this I need to calculate month. So hyphen low is my actual value what user is given. That will దొరుకుతుంది. మొత్తం రికార్డ్ వచ్చి లోలో కూర్చుంటుంది, ఇంటర్ అండర్స్కోర్ రేంజ్లో కూర్చుంటుంది. దాంట్లో లో వాల్యూ ఇస్ మై వేరియబుల్ వాల్యూ. నో when I derive month from it, what should I do? Year and month, right? First 6 characters of this is my month. Yeah. So plus 0 of 6 LVMNTH month is equal to inter underscore range hyphen low. Okay, boss, done. Then start appending everything to my what will be low value, tell me. Do we have any high value bus? No high value because it's single value variable signed and it should be what? Eq. That is a syntax check. చూడు బాబా ఏమో బాబు రాసిన ఇట్లా పెట్టాలి. LV month is also unknown. Syntax check. Now this is your code. So this is first if condition. Yeah, ISTEP 2 and ISTEP 2. Within this again I've got read statement if size sub bar c if condition. And I'm collecting the low of the user entry variable z due date and then determining month from it. ఏందన్నది సింపుల్. ఒకసారి డీబగ్లో చూస్తే you will get more understanding of how the structure looks like. Then I should write my code for one more variable. What is it? When zc week కదా. Yes or no? I would take more or less like same code. Read the variable of date, but from it's not the 6 characters of the date is my week. Should I use function model to get the week from the date? And what is the date I pass in? Date is not current date. Inter underscore range hyphen low, which is a date. I'll pass into my date, and what are the week it gives me, I'll collect that into week. Can I still use that LVC week and put that LVC week into the once it is week is calculated, I'm putting that week into low equal to option and then appending it. How many of you understood this what I've written? from this read statement, I am able to get the value of my date variable, z due date, into my inter underscore range. From inter underscore range, which has got date, I am passing it to this function while getting the week and putting the week into low, sign and up. Yeah, as a syntax check. I'm going to select some date. But for you to understand this, because those variables are not shown front end, right? So I'll show you in the debugging mode. Did I save this? It has come to the ZC month. Now, it has come into this code first time before variable screen is popped up. So, will it perform? How do I know whether it is first time or not? So, will it execute this logic now? Yes or no? No. It will execute this logic only when the ISTEP is 2, not 1. Yeah. So it will go in, it will check the diff condition, not satisfied, gets out. Again for C week, it checks the diff condition, gets out. F8. Now, it has got into the, now it has finished ISTEP 1 of processing this before variable screen. Date select this. I am going to select it as what? April of the, yeah, I think we know that, right? Which week? April 10th was which week? 15th week, you remember? Yeah, 15th week, good. So, it has come into this with, what is the ISTEP now? 2. Now will it execute this variable logic? Yes, go in. Now, this logic you should see the content of the table, I underscore, T underscore, where underscore range. You don't fill anything to this code. This is all by default filled by the SAP itself internally. This will have what to do? Z due date, cal day, IE equal to low is what? The date. So this table might have a lot of records. So I just am referring to this record. So how do I read only this record into work area? Read data from this table into work area with key where vnav is equal to what? Z due date. So this record will be written to what? And work area. What is work area name? What do we have in this work area? Nothing. So once I execute this read statement, now what is size of bar? 0. Until able to read this, Z due date సంబంధించిన రికార్డ్ ని వర్క్ ఏరియాలో పెట్టుకోగలిగినానా? Yes or boss? Now if I say internal underscore range hyphen low is what? The date, what user is given in. So from that date I am saying LV month is equal. What is LV month now? First 6 characters. Now date lo nunchi it is taken as 2015-04. That will be low value, high value, all this. Next, yeah. Look at this one now. Same way again it will read. Now it executes the logic of week. Week. You just have to see. Don't worry about this. But are you getting that step 2 bus? That is step 2. If you can also use step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, the logic of 1 executes before a variable screen is popped up to user. And step 2 is if you have any mandatory variables not popped up to the user. And 3 is for validation, execute after you click on execute button. So knowing this fact, I can use 1 for populating some dynamic default values to the variables. I can use step 2 when I want to fill the value of to a variable based on the value of another user enter variable. I can use step 3 for validation checks. Okay.